Sahana vavatu, sahanao bunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai. Tejasvinavadidamastu mavid vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari Om. And welcome to the beginning of the second limb. We have made it. We made it. Climbed the first limb. We made it to the second limb. We're here. Niyamas. The niyamas. A very simple way to remember the niyamas is that they're a continuation of the yamas. We're given these rules. We're given things to observe, ways to control ourselves in the first limb, and the second limb is very similar in that way, that we are looking for our restraints, in which ways to restrain ourselves, in which ways to control our mind and our mind's reactions to things. So this is a very early component of the practice, where obviously before we control the body and the movement, we've got to have some forms of discipline kind of built into the structure of our lives. And that is normal. It's completely normal. It's completely basic for our society to ask us to have constructs built within, practices, patterns built within the constructs of our lives. Example, you brush your teeth. I hope you do every day. You brush your teeth. You put gas in the gas tank and it drives. The little things that we have within our lives that we know, they're built in, they're patterns, they're practices that we require just to keep moving throughout our day. We eat breakfast, we might not. We eat lunch, we eat dinner, we eat food, we drink water. The things that perpetuate our ability to create other patterns and habits, the jobs we have, the friends we keep, the conversations we hold, all of these things, they are already ingrained in our lives. But if we're approaching yoga, if we're seeking the highest self, if we're seeking self-knowledge and that absorption into oneness, then we are going to have to shift some of our more regular practices, and we're going to have to create some new ones. So that's one way to think of the niyamas, and you're going to really see how the understanding is revealed through each one on their own. Just like the yamas had 5 components, the niyamas also have 5 components, and each one reveals the importance of the niyamas. Each one reveals the practitioner's mindset towards the niyamas. Okay, and they build in impact. They become incredibly subtle as we get to the end of the niyamas. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Okay, we're only going to start the second limb today, but I'm going to let you know what the third limb is, just for setting the groundwork for today's lesson. Okay, the third limb is moving the body on the mat. The third limb is asana. That definition will change from moving the body on the mat to being still and comfortable, but we'll get there. But right now, I just want you to reflect upon the fact that the third limb, what this second limb is preparing you for, is for what the West and most consider the moving on the mat. Okay? So, just like the yamas, each one individually had ways to look at it from multiple angles. We could approach it on an individual context, or we could place it out into societal terms. Could also go with the emotional or introspective component of the yamas. Same thing's going to happen for the niyamas. So let's start. Let's start with the niyamas. The first one is saucha. Before I tell you what saucha means, here it comes. You already know what I'm going to say. It's the call to action. If you find yourself, or if you've already found yourself enjoying this video up to now, maybe you drop a like. But if you're watching the video waiting to see if you like it, and you find yourself enjoying it, maybe you find it entertaining, or maybe you find it a little informative, hit the like button. And if you want to see more, if you want to keep up with the practices, the teachings as I'm giving them, then please feel free to subscribe. It's free for you, but it would help me out a great deal. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, back to the lesson. Saucha. Saucha. Saucha means purity, cleanliness. Okay, next. Second niyam. Saucha, purity, cleanliness. What's the first thing your mind wanders to? Just keeping clean, right? Wash my hands, took a shower, cut my hair, brush my teeth. We have all our hygiene products. I'm not going to go into great detail, but we do our best to keep ourselves clean. Physically. Okay? So, this is because we have a great deal of respect for this vessel that we've been given, this body that we've been given. We have to honor it. It's not something that's just, a material possession that you bought. And when it drops, you can buy another one, pick up a new one, go down to the body shop and get some repairs, keep it moving. No. This is a very, very special opportunity for us. With this vessel, we have the opportunity to seek moksha. We have the opportunity to learn, to grow, to progress down our spiritual path, towards our self-knowledge. So take care of the vessel. Not just in the cleanliness as far as the outside, but make sure your organs are clean. Your veins are clean. Your blood is healthy. How? What we put in. What are you putting into the body? What is the body eating? And I don't just mean there. Everything we interact with is, in a way, our senses consuming. Okay? So what my eyes see, there in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says it in two different ways, two different times. He says, in one way, he says that they're touching things. So it's not just the hands touching, but it's the senses touching as well. So it's whatever they touch. But he also says that they eat. The senses eat. They consume. And that's very important. That's a very important thing to contemplate. If the senses are consuming, we can use that idea of what I eat should be healthy. What I eat should be fresh. Should be good. It should be clean. Right? The food that I eat, they should be clean. In the same way, what our senses consume should be clean. Should be pure. The things that we choose to delve our sensory stimulus into, when it's choice, is it going to always be that way? No. Life happens, right? Life happens. But the things that we can choose, just for an example, do I sit and I have an opportunity, I have a little bit of time to do some reading, so I'm going to read this murder novel about murders and murderers and unsolved murders. It's not going to be very pleasant. It's going to be stress-inducing, anxiety-inducing, fear-inducing, worry-inducing. Ugh. All these nasty things. Is it entertaining? Sure, it'll entertain the senses. Is it valuable in some contexts? I absolutely believe that there is a necessity to indulge in other ways to feed the senses. But like Paramahansa Yogananda said, when a student approached him and told him how much he loved the party life, he loved all the different things he was doing outside of the ashram, and he asked if that would ever fall away, if that would ever fade away. Because he did love going to the ashram and studying with this great yogi. Well, the yogi told him, keep going. Keep going to San Fran and partying and having a blast and enjoying yourself. But there will come a time where what you experience here, it outweighs that pleasure that you experience there. So the senses will consume the stimulating, they'll consume the entertaining. But the intellect will eventually come to a point where it says enough is enough. And it'll know that none of the external stimulation, because it's fleeting, it's temporary, none of that will provide divine and everlasting bliss. So if we can train our senses to consume those pure things, then we help ourselves to progress towards the self. We help ourselves move towards the self. But if we are constantly involving in the negative and the mortally bound, then we are going to constantly be perpetuating that identity, and the self will be hindered from moving towards its self. It's sad. It is sad. What do we see and it's only sad when you think about what we see in society on the mainstream, right? The fad, the popular. It's pushed on us. Comparison, judgment, right? All these different things that align with or pull us away from our true alignment. But those are the things that are sold. Why? Well, they tie into someone gaining, wanting, longing, and there's greed involved. And with the greed involved, envy is involved, and jealousy is involved, and judgment is involved. So what do we choose to involve ourselves in? That's saucha. We choose the pure. We choose the good. Okay? If my glasses were dirty, I would take them off. And right now I can't see much. I can't see very well. You could almost say I'm blind. But then I clean the glasses and I put them back on. And now I can see. But if I was walking around with dirty glasses and I believed them to be clean, everything I see through the dirt, I'll color the world around me with the dirt. So in that way, when we approach the higher limbs, we have to be cleansed of this dirt, the dirty mind, the dirty intellect, the one that's been stained and colored by ignorant teachings its whole life. And it's not to say that it's an ignorant teaching right or wrong. Okay, that's up to the relative discernment of the individual. If the teachings resonate with them, follow by all means, as long as they draw you towards that one truth. But if the individual has had their perspective colored in such a way that there isn't that one true divinity, or there isn't an opportunity to move towards that one true divinity, if it teaches separation, then there isn't going to be higher knowledge. There's not going to be climbing higher on these limbs. So we have to be okay with acknowledging our dirty glasses. Okay? Take it from a external standpoint. Imagine you came up to me and you saw a layer of dirt on my glasses. And you told me, "Hey Dom, you got dirt on your glasses. You must not be seeing very well. You should clean that off." And I tell you, no. My glasses are clean. I see everything perfectly fine. I know what I see. What I see is very real to me. It's so sad. That's when it's sad. Because the person has decided to connect those glasses. They've bound them. And they've hindered their own growth. With a little bit of patience and reflection, with a little bit of a quieting of the ego, say, "Oh my goodness. Wow. Let me see. Let me just see if you're right. I don't know. I'll try. Doesn't hurt. Whoa, I can see differently now. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone." Okay. So if you look for a cloud, you're going to see a cloud. If you look for the blue sky, it's cloudy outside today. I can't see the blue sky, but I know it's there. I can't see the sun, but I know it's there. So with that practice of keeping our vision looking for the good, we ingrain internally the discipline of seeing good, okay, and seeking good. Now internally, that dust has to be cleansed as well. Many, many, many people, myself included, have wounds that have yet to be healed. And that's not through it's not through when a wound is there, you don't create another wound. When the wound is there, you don't just cover it with bandage and hope that it stays fine. It's only a callus. It's only going through the healing process. Cleaning. Okay? So this is the harder part, obviously, of the two. The external cleanliness. I hope you're showering. Hope you're keeping yourself clean. Hygiene is important. But mental hygiene. What's your mental hygiene like? What's your mental patterns like? How do you talk to yourself? And are you too busy telling yourself that you already know? Because if you already know, there's no place for healing. Right? If you already know, you're ignoring the wound. To stare at the wound. To get the bandage off, to let it callus, let it do its healing process, that is Saucha. To let it be purified, cleansed. Okay? Why is this important before the third limb? And I did tell you that we're going to explain exactly what that is, but let's just say it is getting on the mat and moving around and sweating. Okay? Why is that important? Well, if you bring your asauchic mind onto that mat, if you bring a dirty mind onto that mat, you've brought your problems, you've brought your stresses, the mind's worries and fears. You've brought in the dirt. Okay? One thing I used to always tell my students was to leave their problems with their sandals at the door. And for that hour to be present. Because there is no worry and stress and fear, longing or loss in the present. There's only joy. There's only bliss. As we come to know this more, we have to practice towards it. And the practice towards it leads us to deeper and truer understandings, conviction, a knowledge that can't be shaken, a knowledge that can't be forgotten, even if just for a moment. And it leads us to the second limb. It leads us seamlessly to that second limb. I'm not going to go into it at great length right now, but I want you to know, not the second limb, the second niyama. It leads us to the second niyama. The second niyama is santosha, contentment. Perfectly, absolutely content. This is a practice. Saucha is a practice. The yamas and the niyamas are a practice. Once you tell yourself that you are a yoga practitioner, you are not a saint, a sage, enlightened, awakened, anything of the sort. You have stepped onto the path, onto the practice. And you have to know the practice to be able to practice. You have to know the recipe to make the meal. So these yamas and niyamas, they have to be understood for anyone to practice, to further their spiritual path. And remember what yogi is. A yogi is a self-seeker who is recognized, who is realizing, okay, that there's one divine truth. All of the scripts, all of the scriptures, texts, all the ancient teachings speak of one truth, one absolute divine truth. What language it's said in, what book it was written in, these things don't matter anymore. But that one truth is revealed. And that one truth, it's so beautiful. It solves all suffering. It heals all wounds. It's not going to be understood, even though it could be repeated. We might know it, but to understand it is very, very different. I'm a student practicing. I just get to teach it because I've understood to a certain extent. But there is so much more I don't understand. I don't know anything. And in that, not knowing anything, I hope that we can fuse together. We can bind together in a very humble, a very patient, a very stoic, and a very consistent practice towards these understandings revealing themselves. And I can't thank you enough for joining me on this beautiful journey down the 8 limbs, for sharing, for subscribing, for liking, for whatever you've done. I can't thank you. Even if just watching up until this point, I appreciate you. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. We close with mantra, and then I'll see you in the next video for Santosha. Asatoma satgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityormamritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.